Hey, welcome to Frisky Biscuit. We are a podcast all about serving you, and we're here to help you today with some interesting things. We're a podcast that's all about giving you engaging information for all you people out there who drive and on the road, whether you're a trucker, a school bus driver, a food truck driver, a camper, an RV driver. We're here for you. My name's Dr. G, and this is my partner,
Lisa.
And we're here to have a lot of fun today. And Lisa's got all kinds of stuff ready for us to talk about. And she's rather excited today because she's going to be talking about Madonna.
Yes.
Of all things. So let's get to it, Lisa.
Madonna, you think so?
What do we have on score today?
Well, today I thought we'd talk about the summer travel season. It's 2022. I hate to date us, but however, I am. We're at the end of July, beginning of August, and I read a really interesting article this week it was the Washington Post article, which it's not something I normally read. However, it was a really good article about this summer. We've been in lockdown for 2 years, so this is really the first summer that everybody has just said, I'm out of here, I'm taking off. So they said that 90% of the bookings are done 48 hours prior to departure, which is unheard of. Usually people would book months, years. If you're going to a national park, of course, you're making reservations way in advance. However, I just walked the trail here in Twin, right on the canyon, and I met two couples. They knew where they were going tonight and tomorrow night. And I said, well, and they're from Kansas, so a couple of states over. Where are you going after that? They're like, I don't know. So I've never really heard of that. I mean, I was in the travel business for so many years.
I can totally relate to that.
Really? I think it's fun. I mean,
Love
it's kind of
spontaneity. Exactly.
And they're swayed to domestic travel, according to Robin Klein, of Klein and Company Travel Consulting. So she said that more people are going domestically than internationally because they want to be safe. And they said they're willing to pay more too. And you'll see that in the hotels. Have you noticed that hotels have gone skyrocket in their rates? I mean, even the Motel 6 is over $100 a night. So, and here in Twin, that's just amazing. So the prices for their travel has gone up 38% this year. I mean, that's almost 40%,
that's a lot.
Almost half.
Of course, according to our administration, there's no inflation at all.
Yeah, we won't go there. I did this.
Yeah, I just got to go political. Oh, man.
The customers, they said, are upgrading their experiences. They're lengthening their trips, and they're picking luxury properties and private tours. So, I started thinking about, why is this? Why are they being more luxurious? Why are they choosing private tours? More things like the national parks, really high-end hotels. They're going into like dude ranches. Well, I started thinking about it, and we've been cooped up for 2 years, right? So you're used to your luxuries of your home. You're not necessarily going to go off the beaten track. We're used to having security and safety. That's what they want you to do.
The illusion of security.
Right. So people are saying, okay, I want that on my vacation. I'll go on vacation. I'll go longer. A bunch of my friends have gone to Mexico, and they're doing these all-inclusive resorts. They're not even leaving the resort. It includes all their food, all their drinks, all their activities, everything that they do. And that's what the travel agents are saying, that's what they're seeing. They're also seeing that people for the beaches, they're going to Hawaii, Florida, and Puerto Rico. So that's domestic, even though they're taking longer flights. And they're also, the people that were planning on getting married had postponed their honeymoons. Well, now they're starting to take their honeymoons. They are going overseas, to Tahiti and Fiji and different places. However, they're looking for private huts. They're looking for villas, bungalows, so they can guarantee that there's not that much interaction with strangers. So I thought that was kind of fascinating how our accommodations
That's kind of an oxymoron,
have changed.
isn't it? You're traveling, but yet you don't want interaction with strangers.
Exactly.
That doesn't even
Well,
make
it's the
sense.
honeymooners, right? And I think families in general, too, we've been so conditioned over the last 2 years to stay safe, to stay with your small group and your small family. So
Wear a
it's not
mask.
these big things anymore. Yeah. And a lot of the places that you're going that are bigger places are still requiring masks. So they're seeing that it's your starting point and your accommodations that are making more of where you're traveling versus your destination. Because remember, like when I grew up, your destination was Europe. You wanted to go to Europe for the summer. After you got out of high school, that's what everybody did. It was more of a destination. Where are we going? Now it's accommodation. Where are you staying? What's it like? Do you have nice sheets? Do you have good food? It's not getting off the beaten track anymore.
Right.
I think that'll change, because I think people will get tired of that. And we're all kind of ones that travel and aren't just tourists, are more wanderers, and they want to get off the beaten track.
Yeah, I think, well, boy, COVID did a big spin on everybody because it made everyone want to travel and get the hell out of their house and travel, they felt trapped. And now what's happened is they all bought campers, or they had money saved because they can now travel, and they're getting out there, and they're just doing about a lot of things they haven't done before.
Yes.
They're going places they had never thought about going before, or they're really appreciating, just like the national parks, getting out there and traveling and seeing them finally when they're going to do it one of these days. So this whole thing's changed a lot just in the last 2 years.
I love the fact, too, that what we're seeing with the travel agents are saying it's domestic. So here we are really loving our own country, and maybe that patriotism will come and bubble up even more and saying, gosh, we live in an amazing place, an amazing country. You look at the Europeans that come over here, they all do the national parks. They're inexpensive. They're gorgeous. There's lots of them. And, they were kind of our best kept secrets. And now, well, you have to make a reservation. There's 500,000 people traveling through Yellowstone and, the different national parks. So on that front, make reservations. And it really surprised me that travel had gone up so much, 38%, almost 40% in cost and prices, and people are spending longer. So I guess instead of going overseas and spending the money on the tickets, they're staying here. Although Delta just added a whole bunch of new flights, so people are starting to really get out there and travel. And that's what we're all about. We're more about driving on the road, but we want to encourage everybody to get out and travel, get out of your house, get out of your environment, expand your mind.
Expand your mind. Speaking of expanding the mind, we went to a movie yesterday, and I'm going to review this movie because you don't have to go see it.
Nope.
It's called Nope, and it's all about a UFO, a rogue UFO out there in the desert. But the reason I bring that up is that, a lot of people go to movies to escape. Boy, one of the best escapes you can do is just get out there and go camping.
Yes.
And go out there and have some fun. And the main reason we went to the movie was so we could see our commercial running. And
we almost missed it, though.
we got there late and almost missed ourselves.
It's about before the movie. It was really cool to see the creation come on big screen. That was amazing.
It was cool.
The movie wasn't that great, but ours was.
Yeah, you got
only 30 seconds, but it was good.
If you live in the Magic Valley in Central Idaho, go to the movie and see us.
That was fun.
Nothing narcissistic here, right? We got a bobblehead of me, our smiley face cup, and now you can go to the movies.
Yeah, this is Gary. Gary's just starting to travel with us. See his head going up and down. Hey, I have a question for you. Do you think I ought to get a bobblehead of me?
I think you definitely.
What do you think? Let me know.
I think you definitely ought to get a bobblehead.
He thinks I
of
ought to. I'm not so sure.
Yeah.
So let me know in the comments, either on Facebook, Frisky Biscuit Podcast is what it's called, or you can go to our website, frisky-biscuit.com, and email us or write in the comments on YouTube and let us know what you think. Because I'm like, I don't know about that.
If those people knew what we paid for that stupid thing, it would be embarrassing.
I know. It was expensive. And it took us forever.
It took almost a year.
Ever to get it. I don't think they're that I think if I was going to order one, I'd probably order it from a different company.
Yeah, no kidding.
But it's pretty cool. I love Gary going with us. He is a little noisy though, you know.
Yeah, it sounds a little rattly in the head.
You know, when we go to, one of the things that I have challenges with if we go more than a week and a half, 10 days, is my plants. I do not want my plants to die. And I only have 3 plants. However, I've never really had the green thumb as much as some people have. So they've really done well. And I've learned how to feed them. Well, there's something I found. You guys might have seen this before. I didn't know anything about it. And they're called water globes. And they're actually pieces of blown glass. And they have a big ball on the end and then a long pointed part that the water comes out. And you just fill up the globe with water and you stick it in the foundation of your plant at an angle. And when the soil gets dry, water seeps into the soil. I mean, gosh, I had no idea. So I'm going to order some of those and see what they look like, or see how they work actually on this next trip, because we're going to go. We're leaving Thursday for our next trip, which, you know, we had to pivot, and that's part of traveling and being on the road is pivoting. And I understand now where people are not making advance reservations, because when you pivot, you have to cancel everything. So we're not going on our original trip. We're going on a whole different trip.
Pivoting is a fancy name for Plan B.
Yes, yes. Actually, this is probably Plan C.
Exactly.
At this point.
Boy, I'll tell you what, you got to be ready to do that too, because when you're camping and motorhoming and just traveling in general, as you know, even if you've flown on planes right now, they're canceling plane flights all over the place, and you got to pivot and change your plans. So camping's a lot like that, and we've had to do that a couple of times this summer.
I think that's the beauty of travel, though, because, you know, if we're so set in our ways, I watched this podcast or watched this YouTube video the other day, and it was this woman that had traveled her whole life, and she was an expert at helping people move to other countries, especially older women that are in their 50s and 60s that maybe their mate had died or they'd gotten a divorce and they wanted to be an expat and move to another country. And it came onto my feed and I thought, oh, this is interesting. So I listened to it, and the biggest advice she had a lot of advice, but the biggest one was that you can't have too many expectations, because if you get there and your expectations aren't as you wish they would be, that's when all your problems start. So by not having the expectations, and I think that's all of us that travel, to be able to change along the way and not have those expectations. What do you think? Is that what your experience has been?
Yeah, I think that's exactly a good way to put it. Pivot. Pivot. Just learn how to pivot.
Yeah. So some of the things you can do this summer, because it's the height of summer. We're going into August now, is the state fairs. I started thinking, you know, we've camped at state fairs.
I love those state fairs. Corn dogs.
Yeah, the food at the state fairs.
Corn dogs and cheeseburgers. Yeah, yes,
baby. And the cheeseburgers and the corn dogs and the popcorn and the cotton candy. And we go on. And all the rides. I was never really a big ride person, although my brother and sister were. They always wanted to go on the rides. And the state fairs, you know, I did some research on where they started. They started back in the 1800s. It was a guy named
you actually have history on the state fair.
Yeah, I wanted to see, like, how did the state fairs start? Like, did the whole state get together and say, hey, we're going to have a fair? No, it was actually a sheep herder. He brought his sheep into town, and he was so proud of how he sheared his sheep, and everybody was amazed at what he did. And then other people started bringing their wares and showing it off. And that was back in 1800s. And in 1841, the very first state fair started in New York. And they had animal exhibits, plowing contest, and products, and all about the home. And that's how it started. It started in New York. And New York now is one of the largest state fairs. They have over 1 million people that come to their state fair. And you can camp in the parking lot.
I wonder if you'll have to wear a mask.
I don't know.
New
Those of
York.
you in New York, let us know.
We're getting ready to go up to Central Idaho this summer, here a couple of months or a month and a half to see something that I bet started out as a state fair years and years ago as a lumberjack festival in Orofino.
Yeah.
That's going to be a lot of fun where they're rolling the logs, chopping trees down, climbing trees, and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, maybe Gary will get on a log.
Oh, yeah, that's me.
I'll
That's
chop.
me.
Maybe they'll have a bow and arrow contest.
I'll wear my moose shirt so you can see me drowning out there in the pond.
Yeah, I like that moose shirt on you, Mr. Moose. That's our trademark. We do have a trademark.
Yeah. Something happens in my dress. I used to wear ties and shirts and nice shoes and slacks, and all of a sudden I'm the Mr. T-shirt.
And Mr. Moose.
And Mr. Moose.
I wonder how Bobblehead would look next to Mr. Moose.
Well,
No.
The bobblehead actually looks healthier than I do, I think.
Well, if you're out in the region and the state fairs are in your area, definitely go to them. And remember, you can camp, make a reservation there, check and make sure that you can get in to it. The downside of camping at the state fairs is it can be noisy. It also can be very dirty because you have all that dirt. And the upside, though, is you have your rig right there, right? You can go and have your cheeseburgers, have all your food, go and take a break and come back because usually you buy the ticket for the day. So the largest state fairs, and just checking your area or where you're going into, the largest one's in Texas, Dallas, Texas, 2.2 million visitors. That's amazing, huh?
That is pretty amazing. I'll bet that's a great fair, though.
Yeah,
Texas.
Dallas.
Ribs.
Yes.
Ribs.
Yes.
Ribs and pie.
Yes. Yeah. That couple that I met today, they had a state fair. They're from Kansas, and they actually had a town fair. And there's 3,000 people in the town, and they sold $12,000 worth of pie. Homemade pie.
That's crazy.
To 3,000, and I'm sure there's other people.
What, like $5 a
there.
slice? I figure 12,000.
$3.50, and they said that was expensive for that area and that region. So they said if we ever come there, they'd buy some pie for us.
We're going.
So we're going to take you up on that.
We're going to do it.
The second largest fair in the United States is in Minnesota. 2 million people, visitors. The next is the Big E that has 1.5 million people. I mean, I'm just seeing these crowds of 1.5 million people. Connecticut, Maine, Rhode Island, Vermont, and New Hampshire is the Big E Fair. The other
What does that mean, the E Fair?
It's the Big E, so it's a conglomerate
East?
of all those states.
Ah, I see.
Connecticut, Maine, Rhode Island, Vermont, New Hampshire.
Didn't take me long to figure that out.
Well, they're all small states, really. Rhode Island's really small. And they're all spread out. So the other ones that have over 1 million people that come, of course, the great New York State Fair, Tulsa. Tulsa has 2 state fairs. They have the Oklahoma and Tulsa, but Tulsa's the big one. Arizona, Iowa, Wisconsin, North Carolina, and Washington State Fair, all of over 1 million people that go. So it is kind of an American tradition. If you have not done that this year, you may want to go find a state fair and go to them.
Yeah, and a lot of times at the state fairs, they have the rodeos, which we really enjoy. I'm an old rodeo guy, and they're a lot of fun.
I love seeing the animals, too. You know,
Yeah.
all the contest where I don't know how they judge a pig, but there's some pigs that are better than other pigs.
We're getting ready to go to it's not a state fair, it's just a local yokel fair, but they've got probably one of the best rodeos in the United States, and it's over here at the Gooding County Fair. It's a championship rodeo. We went last year. Man, that was a great program.
That was my first time I had been to a rodeo.
Man,
I
it was
had no
good.
idea how fun they are. I mean, the clown comes out and he really gets the audience going. And then those women on horseback that are doing the barrel racing. I don't know how you guys do it.
It's a pretty.
amazing.
If you ever have a chance here in Central Idaho and Magic Valley, and the Gooding County Fair is coming up, you might just stay over and see if you can get tickets to go. It's hard to get tickets for it because it's in a championship rodeo, and all the big stars are there, and it is really good.
And it does sell out. You do have to get your tickets.
Even if you've never
far
gone to
in
a
advance.
rodeo and think it's stupid, that'll change your mind.
Yeah. Or a Canada Calgary rodeo. I mean, sure, there's
The
lots
Snake
of
River
different
Stampede,
rodeos.
which is another legendary rodeo right here by us. So, yeah.
My favorite thing of the rodeo is probably the corn dog.
The corn dog.
Yep.
Let's take a moment and talk about Road Warriors.
Okay.
Because when we went to the theater, that thing came up on the screen. It had Road Warrior on there, and people might start wondering, like, what the heck does that mean?
Well, road warriors are those of us and you that are out on the road traveling. We're warriors. You know, we have been traveling miles and miles and miles on the road. And we even have a sticker for you called the Frisky Biscuit Road Warrior. And what I love about these stickers, when you peel them, they're like the static stickers. So you can just take them off and put them on. It's not like
they don't have sticky stuff on them.
Stay forever on your window. However, we want them to stay forever.
Static cling.
So that's what a road warrior is, and we interview you, the road warriors that are out there. So if you want to be interviewed, you can get in touch with us. And as long as you are traveling in a vehicle or driving in a vehicle on the road, you're considered a road warrior. So if you have an interesting story, we would love to hear it on our podcast. Speaking of interviews, we have quite a few. I know the last couple times that we've done our podcast, we haven't had an interview. However, we have many coming up in August. It seems like all our July people canceled, and now they're into August.
Of course, because they're going to be traveling.
They are. Actually, most of them were traveling.
And so are we. Just make it extra inconvenient.
And I trust you are too, because it is the height of summer. I know the kids go back to school when at the end of August.
Don't know.
Beginning of September.
Don't care. Don't have kids anymore.
Well, you ought to care, because that's
grown.
when there's not as many people on the road.
That's true. I care. I care.
September.
Yeah.
So there's some unusual I cannot talk today. Road races that you can go to this summer. So I found some cool stuff. Besides the fairs, there is the Soapbox Red Bull race. Unfortunately, I didn't catch it until after it's over this year. However, next year you might want to put it on your schedule. It was June 18th. And there's all kinds of soapboxes that they've made that one was in the shape of a piano. One was a giant corn cob. One looked like, of course, you hear the ones with the beds going down the road. One looked like the Golden Gate Bridge, and they pushed these.
I'm still thinking about the one that looks like a corn cob. I would love to see that one. The corn
That's
cob.
a good one for Idaho, huh?
Corn cob soapbox. I used to do the soapbox derby as a Cub Scout. You know, they had these little cars. We'd carve them up and run them down the thing. But this is the big ones where you can get in and ride them.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
you're riding a mattress down the street and drag racing, basically.
And they fly. This year it was in Iowa at the state capitol. And I looked at some pictures, and they put bales of hay all along the street just in case they got loose. I'm sure some of them. They had one picture of this guy just flipping over right into the crowd through the bales of hay. So it looks like a lot of fun. I think I want to go to that sometime. Next year, that we're going to the Fiddler Festival. So I trust that you are also finding these things in America that are our traditions and going and finding them, even if it's to Kentucky to try their bourbon, attempt their bourbon. It's one of those virus words. If you haven't listened to our
their bourbon
virus word video, definitely listen to that.
You know, for the people who drive leisure travel vans, let's kind of give them a plug. We're going to be going to a rally. Where is that? In North Dakota.
North Dakota.
Yeah.
Next
So
year.
that's what is the name of that group? The leisure travel van group, the Northwest. Or
It's the Midwest.
Midwest.
So.
Midwest leisure travel van people, and we're going to be going to that. That's going to be somewhere. That's a cool place up there. I can't remember the name. Madera.
Yeah, it's in eastern North Dakota. So I started looking at the pathway, and it's amazing. We go up through Montana and then crossing over and get into eastern North Dakota. And then I myself have never been to the big guys in the mountain.
Oh, you're talking about Rushmore.
Yeah.
That's South Dakota.
So we're going to head to South Dakota afterwards. So two of the bucket lists, North Dakota and South Dakota.
And Devil's Tower.
And Devil's Tower.
And Sturgis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you haven't been to a rally before and you have a leisure travel van, or you have a van that, say it's what's another company?
Grand Design or big fifth wheel company.
Yeah. So they have rallies that you can go to, and it's really trippy to wake up and see your van everywhere.
The one we drive is kind of it's kind of a, a unicorn. You don't see a lot of them out there. They're custom built, and so to have a rally that just has hours, and you get up in the morning and they're all out there. We've talked about that before. And it's kind of fascinating. It's kind of strange. Because you never see them on the road, and then all of a sudden there's 50 or 60 of them sitting there when you get up in the morning, and it's a lot of fun. And the owners, talk about, and we geek out on the thing, but it's a lot of fun to go to these. So we're going to be attending that one. We just want to put a shout out to them because they've been in contact with us, and we're all registered to go to that. And if you're out there traveling with a leisure travel van and want to get involved in that, you just simply go to the website. It's called MyLTV, and sign up and find a club and join it.
Yeah, as long as you have a leisure travel van, you do have to put your serial number in it. And we met some really nice people and some people that became friends that we're actually going to meet up at the Lumberjack Festival. So it's definitely something that if you want to meet some people out on the road and not one of those that are traveling domestically that are hiding from everybody, that's a good way to do it. So another unusual road race it's called 24 Hours of Lemons. Now, these are lemon cars. You cannot pay more than $500 for your car or do any modifications that makes the cost of your car over $500. If you do, you have to pay for every $10 over, you are docked a lap. And what I love about this race is halfway through, they go to the crowd, and the crowd picks one car, and it's crushed right there on the spot.
So that means that they're going to crush your car.
Yes, if your car is picked as the worst lemon in that race, you are crushed.
How fun.
Now, there's 3 more races coming up. There's one in Connecticut that starts on August the 6th. There's one in Illinois that starts on August the 13th. And there's one in Colorado that starts on September the 10th. So if you have a car that you haven't paid more than $500 for, or put money into it more than $500, and you want to go race it against these other cars, that would be a good thing to do this summer.
That used to be the only kind of cars I used to have. I could have crushed any of those. They would have qualified.
Now, on the opposite end of the spectrum, there's Gumball 3000, and it was founded in 1999 by a British entrepreneur. And it's a car rally that takes all the supercars, and they take you through an epic journey on the globe. And they pick different places, like they've done New York to LA before. This year, it's in the Middle East, and it's in November, the 12th through the 20th. It's the 23rd year of the Gumball Rally.
There was a movie about that.
Yes.
It was a comedy. I remember years ago.
Yes.
Called the Gumball Rally.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we had to watch that. I haven't seen it, but I did remember reading there is a movie that's on it. And so the idea of the Gumball 3000 was always that it ought to be the adventure for the participants, like an experience that you're never going to forget. So if you have the funds, you better bring your wallet for this one. This is on the really high end. If not, you can always go to the 24 Hours of Lemons.
Or use a credit card.
Or use a credit card. So those are some unusual road races that are coming up. And if you have any in your area, give us a shout out of what you guys do on the road. Because remember, this is all about engaging information for people like us that travel and drive on the road. So we are looking for interesting places and interesting things to do out there on the road, and some, things that like how to water your plants. Interesting things like that.
That's it sounds so boring, but it actually is kind of a big deal because we've got this one plant, and I tell you what, we bought this plant at where was it, Home Depot or something, and it was kind of like an orphan plant. It was the middle of the winter, and it was like dying, and we felt sorry for it, so we bought it. And this plant now is 7 feet tall.
Yes.
And it is just gorgeous. People walk in our house and look at this plant going, oh my gosh, what happened to that thing? And it's like we're running out of house for it.
I know. We're going to have to get a new house soon.
Yeah, and I was impressed with Lisa because she said she could never grow anything. And, man, this plant loves her or something.
Well, I discovered fertilizer.
Oh.
I was not ever really a green thumb because most of my life has been traveling. So I didn't have the luxury of cooking that much or having plants. So I've learned both, and they're both like a science to them. So those of you that have plants and that are really good at plants, I so honor you for what you do because it's not easy. I've actually killed a few. I hate to admit that.
But this one's doing really well.
Yeah.
Man, this one, it is just flourishing. So anyway.
So I have a couple other things you can do this summer. This one I found kind of by accident, and I just read an article about it, and it's called The Madonna of the Trail. No, it's not the Madonna who sings. It actually, I found it, even though I'm part of the Daughters of the Revolution, I found this on a whole separate website that talked about it. However, the Daughters of the Revolution commissioned it back in the 1920s. They commissioned 12 identical pioneer mothers, and they put them all along the trail, the Santa Fe Trail, which actually turned into part of Route 66. And they worked with the president of the time, who became the president. It was actually before he became president, but they worked with Harry Truman and President Coolidge, and they received congressional approval for the creation of these monuments. So they went and found an artist to put these Madonnas of the trail together. And it's actually a woman dressed in a homespun prairie gown with a wide brim sunbonnet holding a child. And the whole idea was she was going out on the trail to find her husband, who she thought was in trouble. And she's very strong, she's very active. And this was back in the 1920s. So they had 12 of these commissioned, and they put them in the States. And you hardly ever hear about them. However, they're still there today. So if you live in one of these states, go find this statue. In fact, there's one that's in Upland in California, in the LA area. And when they commissioned it, this was the last one they put up. It was February 1st, 1929. So it was right before the Depression hit. They got a woman, her name was Carolyn Emily Cook. She was 81 years old. And she actually migrated across the trail into California as a small child. So she was the one that unveiled the statue. There was 100 carrier pigeons that was released, so it was a really big deal. And back in 2011, there was an Upland resident in California, and they said the Madonna was crying. And she does look really sad because she's out there looking for her husband. And she said it was because in her community, she had recently discovered the size of the city manager's annual salary. She said that's why the statue was crying.
Oh, that opens the door for me to talk politics.
No. So they make fun of it, and it actually got more attention to these statues, which I had never heard of. I mean, I kind of want to go across the United States finding these statues. Some of them face west, some of them faced east. They wanted them all to face west originally, but they didn't because of the towns. And a lot of the towns have had to relocate them within the town too because of the growth in the town. But these are the states that have them. It starts, of course, in Maryland, West Virginia, Kansas, Colorado, New Mexico, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Missouri, Arizona, and California. And again, it follows the Santa Fe Trail, which turns into part of Route 66. So I thought that was something to talk about because nobody really has talked about it. And it's our history, so it's something that we can go and see. So if you're in those areas and you see it, send us a picture. Send us a picture of one
That's
of the
cool.
statues.
And what is the representation of that again? The Daughters of the American Revolution sponsored that or commissioned that?
Yeah, commissioned. Yeah. It was for the women that had actually traveled along the trail and migrated west. So
it's honoring women that migrated west with covered
honor
wagons.
is mothers, actually, because it's a woman carrying a child.
Wow.
And
That's
so,
cool.
you hear about the men being honored. Well, this is the way that the women were being honored too. So it's a big deal, actually. It's called Madonna of the Trail, put together back in the 20s. So it took place it started in 1920, and the last one was put up in 1929.
The original Road Warriors.
Yeah.
Wow, you bet.
Yeah, so we'll
Can
put a
you
picture.
imagine covering, if you're out here where we are, and we go down and follow the Oregon Trail, and we love staying at a place called Three Island State Park, which is the actual crossing of the Oregon Trail across the Snake River, which is huge. And, we live in that history here. But when you stop and look at the wagon they've got out there, and imagine these people coming across Donner Summit all the way to the west. Man, they had to be tough. We are such wussies now compared to those people.
I mean, you hear a
if we haven't got air
Sacagawea.
conditioning in our car, we whine. And they made it.
Yeah.
And these women in their long dresses and their bonnets carrying these kids, walking along that trail.
And having kids along the trail. And, they didn't walk you're walking over mountains. You're walking over
Crazy.
rivers. And you've got cattle and animals to take care of, along with the children to take care of along the way. And they actually made it. That's what amazes me. When you hear a Sacagawea and the Indian representation, and I trust that's the right way, the First Nations people. However, this is honoring those people that actually walked across this trail that I guess, they invaded those areas, but there is a lot of them. So this is a great honor for our country. So if you happen to see one of those, take a picture, send it to us on our website.
Let us see it. We'll put it on our podcast.
Yeah, and we'll
YouTube.
also put a picture of it on our YouTube, Frisky Biscuit podcast on this, which will be aired, the first week of August. So you'll see that on the YouTube portion of it. So you can see what they look like. They're big. They're 12 feet high.
That's pretty cool. We'd also like to take just a moment to honor you for watching us and listening to us on our new podcast, Frisky Biscuit. And, more and more of you are climbing on board with us, and we really appreciate it. The thing we're really looking forward to every week that we can get these are our comments. And there's not a lot of them, but there are a few, and we really appreciate that. And the comments are important to us because it gives us the opportunity to figure out what it is that we can do to make this more interesting for you. So chime in. What's our podcast? Let's give them our email addresses and all that kind of stuff so they can contact us. And you can contact us through YouTube on the comments as well.
Sure. So our website, frisky-biscuit.com. So you just put a dash in between Frisky Biscuit, has the podcast on the very bottom of it. You can just click on, the Apple podcast, the Google podcast, Spotify. So you can just click on those and actually go to the podcast and hear us in an audio. Or you can click on the YouTube and actually go to our YouTube channel and see us. And you can also email us, which is also on the website, friskybiscuitpodcast@gmail.com. So the easiest is probably either to go right to YouTube and you can comment there, or you can go to our website, frisky-biscuit.com, which has everything. And it has some really funny pictures of us. It has some merchandise, which we have a couple of really cool T-shirts, a couple of cool-ass hats. I mean, people that are buying these hats, they love them, especially the blue jean one. I get some comments on that saying, thank you for making that for us. So check us out. And you can also buy us a cup of coffee.
What is that? Explain that exactly.
Sure.
That donation, is that a donation button on there, or what is that?
It is. Buy a cup of coffee for somebody is a donation. It's kind of like just sending them some funding for having the podcast. And what we do with the money is all this equipment that you see, or maybe you don't see, the lights and all the cameras, it goes to pay for that. It also goes to pay for our time and our research. So the funds get used really quite nicely. So it's called Buy Us a Cup of Coffee, or it could be called Buy Us a Beer, or Buy Us, although we don't drink, Buy Us a Cup of Tea. But it's a whole program called Buy Us a Cup of Coffee. It's kind of like a PayPal, but it's $5, whatever you want to donate.
It just helps us fund this little episode because, this does cost. A lot of people think it's just nothing, but you pay the services like Buzzsprout, which we also want to thank. They do a great job distributing this around the world through the podcast networks, and they do a lot of the heavy lifting for us because the two of us can't do all of it, and so they do an amazing job. If you're thinking about doing a podcast, contact Buzzsprout. We're not an affiliate. They're not paying us for this. They have just proven themselves. They will take care of you. And
if you have any questions on podcasting,
they charge a service fee, which
know.
The cup of coffee you buy us actually helps pay for that. So most of it still comes out of our pocket, and we're okay with that.
Yeah. We just do it for fun, and we really want to have engaging information. So let us know. If it's not something that you're interested in, let us know. Let us know what you're interested in so we can put that together for you.
Lisa works extremely difficultly and hard all week to come up with these little tidbits for you. There's a lot of stuff in the news all the time, and it's easy to see everybody talking about the same stuff. What we're looking for is stuff that the RV newsletters aren't putting out, the stuff that you don't hear about that's kind of under the sheets, and some of the funny stuff that we never hear about, like who makes those stupid laws anyway, is one of our most listened to podcasts. And who does make some of these laws that you can't fish in the middle of a desert or something like that?
Somebody that got upset at one point, got pissed off and made a law.
So we just, we really appreciate all your feedback and all the things that you help us do. And we have a lot of fun doing this for you. But keep in mind, this is a podcast that is for what, Lisa?
It is for all of you that drive out on the road. We do our best to give you engaging information for everybody, all of you. So thank you. Appreciate it.
So until next time, this is Dr. G
and Lisa
saying bye-bye. Thank you for watching and listening, and give us some comments. We want to hear from you. And if you're ever in Magic Valley and want to go to the movies, go in there and say, we know those people. We know those people jumping off the screen at us. We'd appreciate it. And tell
jump
people
off
about
the bridge.
Yeah. Come out here and jump off our bridge. We're the only bridge in the entire United States it's legal to base jump off of. Right here, a 500-foot jump that's absolutely stunningly gorgeous. Come and visit us. And in the meantime, take care of yourself. Drive carefully. Keep the greasy side down, as the truckers say. And remember, you become what you think about the most. Think about camping. Yes. Till then, bye-bye.
Bye.